How you doing? Mr. DJ's back. Let me readjust this camera again. Having a little bit of problems adjusting this camera as compared to the other one. There we go. I guess that's low enough, I think. Let me bring it up just a little bit. Okay, well, I guess I'll have to do. But anyway, Mr. DJ here. Counting down WJRD's top 11 plus 50 survey. Gonna get back to this survey tonight. Gonna cut a couple of videos. Those Lost 45s just keep on coming. Time After Time by Chris Montez at number 46. Chris Montez. This is probably one of my favorite songs on this survey. Definitely one of my favorite records by Chris Montez. Chris Montez first hit it big, a rock and roller. Started out as a rock and roller. Let's Dance at 1962, 63. That went to number 4 here in the States. Went to number 2 in Britain. As follow up to that song, it was called Some Kind of Fun. What didn't do quite as well here in the States, but it went to number 10 in England. And in the early 60s, Chris Montez, he toured with the Platters. He toured with Clyde McPhatter, the original, well, actually the original lead singer of the Drifters. He toured with Sam Cooke, and he opened for the Beatles in several concerts. There was one in Northampton, another in London, I believe another in York. He opened for the Beatles, or the Beatles opened for him rather, when Chris Montez was touring the country with Tommy Rowe. That would be quite a combination right there, Tommy Rowe and Chris Montez, two big pop singers in the 60s. 1965, though, there was a change. Um, Chris Montez went back to the recording studio. He signed up with A&M Records. Herb Alpert, the head of A&M Records, sort of rediscovered Chris Montez and he repackaged him. And I'll explain in just a minute. Chris Montez wanted to pursue, he was looking for that rock and roll formula that put him on the map in 1963. He wanted to replicate it in 1966. So he starts recording, and Herb Alpert, the producer, he's producing him. He says, "Well, let's move off this rock and roll. Let's ease up a little bit. Let's do something more middle of the road, something like a ballad, a little bit softer, not so raucous." Well, I mispronounced the word, but you get the point. Just easy listening. Adult contemporary artist. That's what Herb Alpert had in mind, to repackage Chris Montez as an adult contemporary artist, and he was successful. Man, now this is the interesting thing. Well, I'll get into that in just a minute because there's so many things I want to talk about on this record. Chris Montez started out with "Call Me" in early 1966, late 65, early 66. "Call Me," written by Tony Hatch, Petula Clark's songwriter. Uh, I believe producer as well. Petula Clark did the original version, but Chris Montez had hit with it. His version went to number 22 on the pop charts, but it went to number 2 on adult contemporary. "The More I See You," a song that goes back to the 40s, redone by Chris Montez in the spring of 1966. That went to number 16 on Billboard's Hot 100, and if I'm not mistaken, it went to number 1 on the adult contemporary charts. Herb Alpert's Master Plan, which Chris Montez initially was reluctant to follow, was working. He was getting big on the adult contemporary charts, probably because he's covering these old standards. A song that he redid in the summer of 1966, "There Will Never Be Another You," that was used in a musical called Iceland, which came out back in 1942. Therefore, the people who grew up in the 30s and 40s found some appeal in Chris Montez's music in 1966 because they'll listen to "The More I See You" or they'll listen to "There Will Never Be Another You." These 30, 40 something year olds, and they're thinking, "Oh man, I remember hearing the version of that song back in the 40s, back when I was a kid." A nice nostalgic tour de force for them. This record is definitely another uh, time after time, another standard. And this standard, it was a jazz record that was written back in the 40s. Originally, it was recorded in 1946 by Sarah Vaughan and the Teddy Wilson Quartet. 1946. It's been covered by various other artists like Ella Fitzgerald. And now here's Chris Montez with this version of "Time After Time." Man, I love that acoustic guitar. Don't you just love that acoustic guitar dun, 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 at the beginning of this record? The thing about Chris Montez, you got to understand this about 1966. It was kind of an explosive year. The British invasion getting well underway. The Beatles were charting one song after another. Rolling Stones, Dave Clark 5, charting hit records. Herman's Hermits. Every season there was in 1966, there was a hit record by these groups. And that's not to mention Gary Lewis and the Playboys. The Mamas and the Papas hit it big in 1966. 4 top 10 hits in 1966. And let's not forget the Motown groups. The Supremes, they had every season, winter, spring, summer, fall, they had a hit record. The Supremes did. And we're talking number ones, top tens, top fives by the Supremes. 4 tops having hit records. As a matter of fact, there's a 4 tops record coming up, I believe, later on this survey. But you get the picture. There's just this enormous supernova of just great records. And Chris Montez, kind of a footnote in 1966, kind of chipping in his own way. These nice melodic standards. I like this song. This is one of my favorite records off this survey. Time After Time, Chris Montez at number 46 on WJRD's Top 11 plus 50 survey. 1150 WJRD Tuscaloosa.